What's up everybody, it's Stefan here. I got the idea for this video actually this morning because I was scrolling through TikTok and this video came up of what $300,000 could buy in Texas. And looking at this, I was just blown away that $300,000 could buy a huge house with 4 or 5 bedrooms, multiple bathrooms, a pool in the backyard. And I'm thinking, wow, if you take the current exchange rate between dollars and Swedish crowns, the 37 square meter apartment that I'm living in would actually be costing the same amount as this 4 or 5 bedroom house in Texas. And I'm going, can this really be the case? Can Swedish prices really be that high? And so what I've done today, because I've been very, very curious, is I've done some exploring on some real estate websites in America and Sweden to compare. Because you can't compare the inner city of Stockholm to a rural area in Texas. You can't do that. So what I'm going to do for you guys in this video is I'm just going to browse through some of these websites and see how far does your money go. Now keep in mind there is going to be differences in dollars and Swedish crowns. Right now, it is about 8.25 to 1, I believe. I will do all the calculations for homes that I talk about in this video so that you can see what these will cost in your local currency. I think that would be really good. And then also, of course, they use square meters here in Europe and square feet in America. So I'll also do some conversions there so we can see a little bit of what's comparable. But I think this is actually really interesting. So let's dive into it. First, I want to show you is Texas, because Texas is really known for you can get a really, really big house for cheap. And that's what sort of inspired this TikTok. Now, the TikTok that I was watching, it was not in Dallas. It was an area a little bit outside of Dallas. But let's just go in to Dallas and see. So if we're in city of Dallas, here you can see for $400,000, that gets you a 4-bedroom place. And that seems to be pretty standard, actually. Now, keep in mind, Dallas is one of the biggest cities in America. It's in the top 5 biggest cities. But it's definitely a lot cheaper than, say, New York or LA. Wow, look at this, $24 million. This is something that's crazy because in Sweden, you can buy literally like a royal castle for this amount. I mean, this is pretty cool, though. This is a pretty cool house. I mean, look at this. You feel like you're walking into the Grand Hotel looking at this. That is insane. But it does seem like at the top, you can actually buy stuff in America that is way more expensive than what you can buy in Sweden. Now, just for comparison, because this was in the city of Dallas, so the prices were a little bit more. If we go down to, say, Waco, Texas, this is where they have a TV show. I forget what it's called, with Chip and Joanna Gaines, and it is insane. Look at this. You can get a 6-bedroom house for $225,000. That is insane. That is just absolutely insane. Here, same thing. Everything in here. I mean, to think that these houses cost less than a 37 square meter apartment where I live is just crazy. I mean, I personally would rather live in downtown Stockholm than Waco, Texas, but pretty crazy to think about. So let's go to my hometown, or my home city of Portland. Let's jump to that one. All right, so here we are in Portland, and let's get something in the inner city Portland, like really downtown. Since I know this city better, we'll zoom in here. So from what I can see here, downtown Portland and downtown Stockholm, there's not going to be like a huge difference in price for this. It's a little bit bigger than a lot of the 1-bedroom apartments that you'll find in Stockholm. But actually quite interesting that the prices, if you want to live in the city of Portland, it's about the same. So for comparison, let's flip over to my tab where I've got Vasastan here in Stockholm, the area of town that I live in, and Norrmalm. This is a very central area in Stockholm. And if we click on some houses here, well, we can see this is expensive. This is like over $1 million for 90 square meters. Let's take a look at this. It looks nice, but after coming from seeing the places in the US, it looks very, very small. I mean, 90 square meters, that's not much, and that's $1 million. That's That is a lot of money for 90 square meters. Here we've got one room. It's 26 square meters. And that's going to cost you the better part of $300,000 for one room. Again, nice, but really cramped when you compare it to what $300,000 can get you in America. I mean, think about some of these houses that we were looking at earlier. Here's a 4-roomer, okay? Now we're talking if you have a family. And this is over $2 million US dollars for 152 square meters. So this is expensive. But you can see this is starting to look a lot nicer, a lot more space. It almost is starting to look like more comparable to the amount of space that you would have in a typical American home. That's very, very nice. And for this location in Stockholm, that's pretty amazing. But to think that costs over $2 million for that's pretty insane. It really puts things into perspective that Stockholm real estate is no joke. It is actually pretty expensive here. This one looks like a nice place, around $1 million. And let's take a look at some pictures. That is a killer view. I mean, you can see the northern towers here. Tons of space inside. That looks like a really nice place, actually. I like this. But this gives you an idea of what $1 million will get you in Stockholm. I mean, these views, though, that's pretty cool. I almost like this one more than the $2 million one. But as you guys can see, in Stockholm, it's pretty expensive, especially in the inner city, and there's just not a ton of space. So let's compare that if we go north of the city, 20 minutes to a suburb, Täby here. And Täby is considered to be one of the nicer areas, nicer suburbs. But just to get an idea, when we get outside the city, let's see what these prices look like. Let's see. Look at this one, 1.5 million crowns for a single room, 21 square meters. I mean, that's absolutely nothing. And we're talking almost $200,000 for a place like this. It's nice, it's fresh, but wow, is that tight. This is the entire plan. You walk in the door and it's basically just a room. That's insane. That's something that you don't really see in America. Maybe in like Manhattan, in New York City, maybe. That's crazy small. Let's take a look if you're a family and you want to get a house. Here we go. It's over $1 million. This is what $1 million home looks like in Täby. You can see more space because it's a house. And it's pretty nice, actually, I'd say. Very Swedish style in here. So a house like this in a suburb of Stockholm will cost you about $1 million. Wow, the more I look in Stockholm and the surrounding areas, the more you realize it's really not a cheap place to live. Here's another house that's over $1 million in that same area. And again, really nice area. Really cool staircase there, wow. And this is over $1 million for this. You got a sauna. That's pretty cool. But that looks like a typical Swedish home for a family to grow up in the suburbs. So now that we've seen the suburbs of Stockholm, let's go 20 minutes north of Portland, where I'm from, in the Vancouver area here. And let's take a look at the prices. And you can just see on the map, these are all homes. And you can see 400,000, 300,000. And you can see on here, these places are all roughly the same size as the houses that we looked at in the suburbs in Täby, in the suburbs of Stockholm. And they're under half the price. I mean, that's pretty wild, actually, when you compare side by side. Now, granted, Stockholm is the capital of Sweden, and there's a lot going on here. And Portland is actually the exact same size as Stockholm, if you count the metro areas around. So it's actually quite interesting to look at it like that. But here's a house that's, half of $1 million, which is half the cost of those houses that we were looking at in Tabby. And, you know, similar size. The style definitely looks more American. You can tell the difference between the Swedish and the American style. It's really interesting. Carpet. You don't see as much carpet in the houses in Stockholm. But yeah, that's half the price. That's pretty crazy. And again, Portland and Stockholm are the same size. But of course, if we compare like LA or New York, like that's going to be more comparable to what you'd see in Stockholm. So while comparing side to side some of these American cities with the living situation here in Stockholm, you can definitely tell that Stockholm is a bit more expensive, at least compared to Dallas and Portland, the two cities that I compared in this video, which is very, very interesting. And remember, Tabby is a little bit more of a wealthy suburb in Stockholm that might have played some sort of role. So if you guys are interested in this sort of video, leave me a thumbs up so that I know that you liked it, because I could literally sit here all day and compare houses in different parts of the world and see how much money things cost. I think that's very, very interesting, and to see the different styles and all that stuff. So let me know if you enjoyed this type of content, or leave some areas down below that you would like me to compare, whether around Sweden or in America. I think that could be interesting. This was a different kind of a video today, so I hope you guys liked it. But with that, I'm gonna actually wrap this one up now, because I think I've been going on for quite some time. So with that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.